Good afternoon. I'm Josh Vanek with the Montana Campus Network for Civic Engagement, and welcome to the Centering Indigenous Knowledge series for 2025. We're super excited. The Montana Campus Network for Civic Engagement is a network of colleges and universities across our state that support civic and community engagement, and this is one of the amazing things we get to be involved with over the year. Our theme this fall is Native American art, creative connections to tribal histories and culture. And today we've got 5 college student artists and creators we're hearing from. Our future sessions, and we're going to be on Thursdays throughout November, Native American Heritage Month this year. We'll hear from author Chris Latre, visual artist Taryn Lasgun, and musician Dylan Running Crane as well. The artwork that we are sharing today, and this is behind Karla, and I believe it was up on the waiting screen as you were waiting to join here, is called Ilusacha. That's a Absaluke word, and it's by an artist named Stella Null. And you can look at her other things at stellanall.com. I do want to thank our sponsors. We've got a presenting sponsor in Humanities Montana, who very generously have supported the series before and are back again this year. And additionally, we thank RJS and Associates, Reach Higher Montana, Montana State University, Campus Compact, and the University of Montana. If you are attending today, please know that it's because of our generous sponsors. And if you have the wherewithal, we'd love it if you made a donation to one of the tribal colleges in this part of the world. We think that's a great way to say you appreciate the work they do to advance Indigenous knowledge and encourage that. And finally, I want to give a special shout out to Danielle Vickers, who really has been heading up all the work on centering Indigenous knowledge this year and getting things together and doing amazing work behind the scenes to make sure it all works. So if something is working well today, it is because of Danielle's attention to it. So now I will hand it over to Dr. Karla Bird with the University of Montana.
Thank you, Josh. Oki ni stu ni daniku nadu gayaki ni amskapi bikani. My name is Karla Bird. My Blackfeet name is Two Bear Woman. I currently work in tribal outreach at the University of Montana, and I believe this is our 4th year of this series. So if you want to see previous webinars, please look up our YouTube channel. We have a great series of student sessions today. And so our first session is Melisa Trombley. And so here's a little bit of information about Melisa. Melisa is a Blackfoot artist from Browning, Montana, studying at Blackfeet Community College. As a self-taught artist, Melisa explores different mediums like oils, acrylics, gouache, watercolor, and charcoal. One of Melisa's main goals is to spread joy and appreciation through the art that she creates. Melisa sees art as a way of connecting with people, sharing stories, and celebrating the beauty of the world around us. So I'll hand it over to Melisa.
Oki ni student anaku osquesis daki, Melisa Trombley. Hello, my name is Melisa Trombley. My Blackfeet name is Bluebird Woman. I am attending BFCC in Browning, Montana. I'm getting my associates in business, and hopefully that will help me with my art. I'm going to show you some slides of my stuff. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm a self-taught, as I was introduced, I'm a self-taught Blackfeet artist from Browning, Montana, but I grew up in Great Falls. So in Great Falls, in the public school system, I never really learned about my culture that much. We were always lumped into like the Plains Indians. So I never really got to connect with my culture in that way. but I was able to move back a few years ago to focus on my art. And today, my art is deeply influenced by my culture and our connection with the land. So I'm really grateful for that. Let's see. This is some of my stuff that I made throughout before I moved back home. It was a lot of pop culture stuff, a lot of stuff that I really liked, whether it's like movies or shows or artists, and then also um, what I was commissioned for. So if people like my artwork, they'd commission me for something that they loved, like uh, the Golden Girls or Bob Marley. Like so, that was mainly what I was doing a lot of my artwork in was portraits of people, most commonly pop culture people. But when I moved back, I was able to reconnect with my culture in many different ways. And one of the main things was the land around me. Like in my backyard, we have Glacier National Park, which if I could, I'd paint that every day. It's so gorgeous. So I like to incorporate a lot of that into my artwork now. And then also, I've been focusing on animals as well, mainly the animals around our land. And it was really hard for me to get back or to start doing animal portraits because of all the fur and stuff. So I'm really proud of myself. Landscapes as well. I'm really working on landscapes. Um, but another thing that I was able to do is do some uh, cultural techniques. Like I was able to do a lot of workshops. I learned how to make moccasins. I learned how to make a drum. I was able to learn how to brain tan a hide. And that goes into my next thing. So we have a bunch of workshops here in Browning, and a lot of them are put on by Blackfeet Community College. The Medicine Spring Library has a ton of amazing workshops, and it's mainly based around our culture. So I learned how to make Blackfeet moccasins there. I learned how to bead through a couple of the workshops, and I think we did a drum making one, like I said. And then they also hosted a brain tan workshop, which I was fortunate enough to make a small documentary about. It was parts of it. And how it's important to reconnect with our cultural ways. I won a couple of awards from it. I'm really proud of that. But it shows a couple of the things that we were able to do. And I'm really grateful because without Blackfeet Community College, I wouldn't have known anything about this. So yeah, I think we're gonna probably play that here pretty soon.
There's lots of important things and a lot of good teachings that come with traditional ecological knowledge, and that's what high tanning and archery is, right? For one, you're reconnecting with your ancestors, you're reconnecting with something that was taken from us essentially, but also you learn like the resilience and the strength that our people had. You know, like when you physically tan a hide, you understand how hard it is, how long it takes, and so you really start to appreciate what our ancestors did and like their way of life and how and why they were so appreciative, right? Because in modern day we really take a lot of things for granted, but long time ago you couldn't take things for granted. It was more or less life or death. So when we go back to these traditional teachings, we're really grounded and we're really taught the importance of just taking in everything in that moment, right? And your hard work, your dedication, everything that you put into your project, it's you, it's your spirit, right? It's love, blood, sweat, and tears. So the importance is just reconnecting, but also grounding yourself and trying to find, you know, those connections or those teachings that were long lost, you know? Like, one thing I told Nafi before we did this project, I said, you know, you're like one in a million, at least down here in the States. I said, people can tan, but to make the brain tan hides is art. That is a lost art. And he was fortunate enough to learn from his grandma, great grandma, dad, you know, like just the beauty of that pedagogy, the beauty of that bumaks and the transfer of knowledge is really what sets these things at like a higher bar, right? They're like an awesome experience, and we all learned something. I learned something. That was the first time I got to watch him in his like element and just sit back, and because he always talked about tanning hides, and learning these teachings and learning this way of life is really going to help us in the future.
We're gonna sew this on the bottom of this hide, like a skirt, to protect from the flames and the sparks and the heat. That's kind of your barrier.
Traditional ecological knowledge is so key to any Native student, any Native out here, because this reconnects you in so many different ways, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It encompasses it all, you know? I think about my mother. She always tells the story of when she was younger, people would ask her, well, are you Indian? And she would say, yeah. And they said, well, speak your language. And she couldn't. Right, and so that was a disconnect from her and her people, and so she let all three of us go to Cutswood, and we know our language and we know our way of life. But I think of that story, and you know, and I think of our students now. If somebody tells you, "Well, are you Indian?" You could say, "Yeah, I tan a hide. I know how to do it." You know, by hand. You know, we didn't use any power tools. We used modern tools, but they were still modeled after our old tools.
My name is Felix Nez. I'm the USDA Extension Agent, Director of the Blackfeet Community College here. We work off of grants, so one of the grants that we have inside our mission, our goals, objectives, is to do youth development. So one way to incorporate that is to have archery programs here, to reestablish that concept of that relation between Native folks, Indigenous folks, between the land and the wildlife itself. So that's where we incorporate a lot of our archery programs. We try to use the 3D targets, the 3D as a teaching of what that animal was called in traditional language. So just not to shoot, that's not what we're about. I think we're more on the concept of what was this animal? Why do we use it? Or why do we hunt it? Or how do we utilize that? So that's kind of the thing that we kind of incorporate with our archery event. Definitely that, and then of course, the disciplinary actions of how to shoot, meaning that you come to the line, you do this, prepare and get set, and then actually fire. So teaching that to students, just because not all students are athletes, you know, not all of us play basketball, not all of us do. So archery is another way to kind of bring those kids in and kind of, they feel comfortable. They feel like they belong somewhere in a sense. So trying to relate that with the land, with the animals, wildlife, is how we kind of do our archery program. So the hunting portion with Buffalo Academy, we usually take those students to Yellowstone. They do the hunting down there, yeah. And then we process the meat for those kids. So those kids actually take those meat back to their families. And I think last year we did 5 elk that we processed for the kids. This year they weren't really able to do that just because of funding wise. So I know that they harvest 1 buffalo last November. Yeah, last November. But we end up processing that, and we got the leg out of that, and that's what I use my students to do the cuts, do the chops, do the roast. Yeah, that's what we disseminate to the employees here. Yeah, that's what that is. So I think all of that is bringing that how is this meat benefiting all of us? You know, how is it consumed? What is a safe way to actually consume that meat also? So that's what we try to teach my students about, which is either game, wildlife game, or either that domesticated cattle. We usually take it to CNC meats up at Babs, and Tina Fleming is the one that usually processes all that for us. So I think it goes beyond not just doing the archery shooting. I mean, we want to see like the end product of it. Where does it actually go? And so a lot of those kids, that's what they kind of get at the very end.
And they don't have to be big, you don't want to be crazy outlandish, you don't want to be modeling being one of them. One of them is really bad. Because some of, you know, like the newer people, the newer agents, and it looks, it's nice, but it kind of like takes away from it.
What makes them sacred is doing it right, and doing it in a good way, and knowing how to give thanks, give the proper thanks, or anything like that. So that's what I want to teach. When we go berry picking, okay, we're gonna put tobacco down, and this is why we put tobacco down. You know, I want to teach that way of life, because it's still here and everybody carries it, but you know, I just don't think people know how to live with it yet. And when we start living with it, it's gonna be wicked awesome, right? Like everything will fall into place. Students, you know, will be a little bit more, I feel like students will be more confident. We read about our people, and our elders talked about our ancestors being like the baddest of the bad, like Blackfeet. We were the lords of the plain. We had this immaculate respect, and we had this vast territory. And I really feel like our students, our younger generations, are like shying away from that, or they don't understand like how cool, how powerful our ancestors were. Like you can go away and live your life, but you will always have that one thing that grounds you here, you know?
Yeah, so that was my reconnecting with my culture and stuff, and how it's inspired my artwork throughout these last 5 years or so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa, so much. Our next student presenter is Rachel Saldivar. Rachel's enrolled in the Pokagon Potawatomi tribe located in Michigan and Indiana, and is a first-year student studying cell biology and neuroscience on the research track with an interest in psychology at Montana State University. She is the founder of Endanes Gitabonin, which is a startup mission that advocates for Native youth mental health using the arts such as writing, illustration, and dance. Rachel is also the current secretary of the Pokagon Band Youth Council and public relations representative for the National Congress of American Indians Youth Commission. Additionally, Rachel is a freelance writer for the Pokagon Band newsletter, Bogagnek Yatanawa, and with her most recent publication being published in the October 2025 edition, titled A Letter to Students. Today, she will be sharing a book she's been writing titled Mistakes of the Eternal. Her book is full of short stories that follow the character Neron, who is an Indigenous artist struggling to stay connected to their cultures and languages after leaving their home country for the United States to learn more about their Indigenous way of life. I'll hand it over to Rachel.
Bonjour everyone, Rachel Indigenous Michigan Dodam, Potawatomi and Pakegnakinyuk, and Devandagas. Thailand Dodgpiatotic Edayan. Hi everyone, it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about my book. And how do I screen share it? Hang on. Can you guys see my screen? Good. Okay, awesome. Okay. And then we're still good, right? You can still see my screen. Uh,
Yes, we can see it,
okay,
Rachel.
thank you. Awesome. Okay, so this is a little slideshow just about myself a little bit. I was born in Chaiphum, Thailand, in Southeast Asia, but I currently study at Montana State University for cell biology and neuroscience on the research track with an interest in psych, but I will also be studying fine arts with a focus on drawing next semester. Some fun facts about me is I can speak Russian and Chinese, but I'm also learning a couple other languages, which include Potawatomi, Japanese, and Thai. I'm also a Vaganova trained ballerina of 8 years and an illustrator. Mistakes of the Eternal is a compilation of short stories about the character Niran, who is a multiracial indigenous youth who struggles with their mental health and identity. Also mentioned, they are from overseas. They came to the States to learn more about their indigenous cultures. Um, And then, so the first half of the book goes through the life in Iran through their perspective, whereas the second half of the book goes through bits and pieces of my life through journals that I've written through the years. These journals that I've written over the years are what really influenced the beginning of this. I started writing it in 2025 in January specifically, and it first started with my short stories To Be Human and What is Humanity. Pieces of them have been published in my tribe's newsletter, which I eventually created in Iran, in which Nuran's story starts off with what is humanity and ends with Nuran's final epilogue. I was going through a very rough patch in my mental health in earlier this year and even currently, if I'll be honest. But it was at a point in time where I was learning about myself more and about art and dance and trying to graduate high school in time. And it was a few months before my graduation, and I was slowly losing determination to want to graduate. But then I thought of the idea of creating Niran, where I could better understand the tragedies in my life. Mistakes of the Eternal came to fruition in August of 2025 and is near completion as of this month. Niran has the Thai name meaning eternal because that is where I was born, but it's also the language I grew up speaking, but was taken away from me by the people around me. Living in the States is definitely fun when you are a foreigner. With all the tragedies that came about in my life, I thought about all the struggles that we as Indigenous people go through, especially when it comes to coping with generational trauma in a healthy way and mental illness such as depression and/or anxiety. Additionally, I thought about the struggles that my relatives who are also multiracial. I created Mistakes of the Eternal as a way to connect with those who also feel a sense of disconnect from their cultures and the society we live in. The story of Iran is incredibly personal to me, as their life is an extension and reflection of my own had I not survived my own hands. Here is the outline of part 1 of Mistakes of the Eternal with a couple quotes from two of the stories from What is Humanity. We also have The Evil of Mankind, Guilty Complex, A Bittersweet Tragedy, The Journal of Iran, Gone Too Early, To Be Human, Mistakes of the Eternal, and Iran's final epilogue. What is Humanity? One of the final sentences in that short story is humanity was such a beautiful concept when it was created, but the meaning of it has been lost. Whereas Niran's final epilogue, one of the first sentences is I hope I'm reborn with a heart. Part 2 of Mistakes of the Eternal. This is the outline of it. We have Spirit World is waiting for the lost one, To the Spirits, The Land Built on Blood, Apathetic Mind People, Killing Who I Will Be for What I Used to Be, A Writer's Greatest Lie, Death is Inevitable, My Suicide for Your Care, To Die is to Live, and Writer's Epilogue. A little bit of some background on To Die is to Live. It was my first college essay that I had written in 2023. It was actually a gratitude essay. It was definitely not the best time in my life to write it, as I had a few family members in that year of 2023 pass away all within a span of a few months, and it was how do I leave this? But it wasn't Sorry about that. But it was a very interesting time in my life where I was grieving, where I was in starting college, my first year of college, going for my associates in psychology and English. And then I was also still in high school at the same time, and I was just starting with my tribe's youth council. So it was a very stressful time in my life. And so To Die is to Live is probably the most personal story in Mistakes of the Eternal. Um, but that's really all I have to share. And Chimigachi for listening to me ramble for a bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Our next student is Chevy Reum. Chevy is a student studying creative writing at the University of Montana. Chevy is a part of the Chippewa Cree tribe from the Turtle Mountain Reservation in North Dakota. Her tribal roots stem from her mother's side of her family. While Chevy is not enrolled over in North Dakota, she is enrolled as a descendant in tribes located in Polson and Ronan, Montana. Through her journey as a college student, Chevy hopes to pursue a career in writing her own novels and books that will be shared with the world. Chevy has expressed her love for being able to bring words on a piece of paper to life, and today she will be presenting an original piece of poetry.
Hi. So, like she said, my name is Chevy, and just some like little fun facts about me. Like she said, I'm studying creative writing, but I am also studying Spanish along with a little bit of like choir on the side. And before we get into this piece, I wanted to say that it is a little bit different now. I originally wanted it to be about the indigenous schools and what everybody has gone through with like losing their culture during that time. But then as the words started to like flow a little bit, it turned into a way different poem, which is the one we have today. So I'm going to screen share my poem now. There we go. Okay, is everybody able to see that? Okay, hopefully.
Yes, we can see it, Chevy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this one is called A Cultural Connection. It is often said by many that hair holds memories of both the good and the bad. With long black hair that is as beautiful as the midnight sky, all of the stars have connected our stories that were heard and our stories that we went through ourselves. Our hair has been with us ever since life gifted us a beating heart, much like the black stallion and the many other animals around us who were here before anyone. This will forever be their home. Our dances and music aren't just here for fun during a celebration. Our movements tell a story of our life. The bounce in our step always allows us to share our pride in who we are, in what our culture is, in our inner selves. There was a time when the white man walked upon us. They treated us like we were some savage, wild creature that was savage. But our people are nothing but strong and wise like our great elders. Listen to their voices. Our culture builds us up and makes us who we are. With our long and braided black hair, our celebrations full of dancing and music, the stories passed down through generations. Our joy in being who we are will never cease to exist. So a little bit more on the poem. The black hair comes for my grandmother. Before she originally started dyeing her hair blonde because she likes the color, her hair was black and it was very pretty, and it's pretty now. But that's for like a connection towards her and my other Native American friends who do have black hair. Even though I don't have brown hair, I wanted to put that in the poem. And I also wanted to put in the black stallion because it resembles strength, in which our people and our culture is so strong. So I wanted to make sure that was in there. And this poem really means a lot for me personally because I always struggled in like my childhood with like me being white, and I thought I didn't really have a say in much in learning or wanting to be a part of the culture. So I usually just like sat kind of like behind in the scenes trying to like learn a little bit as I went, but not as much because I felt like I wasn't deserving of it in a way. So making this poem kind of like gives me that like connection of just like letting myself be okay with like, and allowing myself to know that even though I am like white, I am still Native American because of my mother's side, and that I am allowed to know about my culture and be connected to it. Uh, that's pretty much like my little spiel about it. It was a little short, but like that's what my little connection to my culture is and how this has helped me.
Thank you so much, Chevy. Our next student presenter is Taya Falcon. Taya is a little shell and Cree artist from Billings, Montana. She is currently in her 4th year of college studying fine arts at Montana State University, Billings. Taya's primary mediums she works with are ceramics and sculpture, and today she'll discuss how she found her cultural identity through art as well as how she represents and attempts to reclaim her culture. As a Native person that grew up in an urban city, Taya felt severed from her cultural ties. She was far from her tribal family, and it was hard to find her identity that was stretched between two different worlds. Growing up, she felt disconnected from the community around her and wanted to find an expression of her Native heritage.
Right. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's tuning in today and everyone who made this webinar possible. It's an honor to present alongside such amazing artists. And yeah, I'll just get started. So I am a art student pursuing a bachelor in fine arts. And when I first came to college and started my journey into art school, I found that I was really interested in humanity and the experiences that make us human. And so I'm going to share my screen here. Go. Let's see. So this piece was one of the first pieces that I made in art school, and this piece is titled Citrus Rot, and it kind of became a self-portrait in a way. I was really interested in reimagining our own journeys in the physical world, and it's a moldy orange, but the mold became kind of a symbol of the journey, and I really wanted to express that in my art. And as I continued down the ceramics path and started to figure out, what I really like to do, I also found that I really liked expressing identity. And I found that I began to unearth my own experiences. And one of the biggest experiences that I found was a big influence on who I am today is the experience of being an urban native. And so as I was working on pieces, I began to kind of deep dive into what that meant. And I found that I really felt that I was walking among two worlds, or rather in between two cultures. And um, just living in an urban setting, I wasn't on the res. Wasn't immersed in my culture. Um, I was going to public school, and so I wasn't immersed in the language or the tribal histories or even attending ceremony, and that kind of left a hole. Something felt missing there for a really long time, and it really stuck with me for a while, and it took me a really long time to find my own identity. And I found that I wasn't accepted with between my native and non-native peers, which also made it very difficult for me to plant my feet and try to heal from that. Um, and so when I was building my identity, it was really like, who am I? And I had always identified as Native. I always knew that, but just those cultural ties were severed and really made it difficult to find who I was until I was an adult. Um, so that whole experience really inspired this piece here. And this piece represents the duality between an urban and traditional life. And I really wanted to explore how they coexist, how these two contrasting worlds can coexist with each other internally and externally. And I was really grateful for, well, as I was making this, it really showed me that, you know, this duality showed that my culture is not separate from who I am. It's always going to be there, which was very comforting. And the whole experience of having these cultural ties severed really fueled this desire to reclaim heritage. And one way I did that was by immersing myself in learning new technical practices. So like beadwork was one of the first things that I did to um, tie back into my roots. And I find that I often strive to integrate those techniques into every aspect of my work if I can. But it doesn't just stop at the technical practices. It also is through content. So this piece here is a wooden bison herd that kind of acts as a pull-along toy. And I was really inspired by um, just bison's nature, their unwillingness to be domesticated. And as I continued working on this project, I was really touched to find that there's a lot of reflection in ourselves as Native people within the bison. I mean, they are resilient beings just like us, and the bison that we have today are the direct descendants of those who survived. So much like ourselves. So, I really admired that, and I was able to appreciate that as I was working. And I think I reflect a lot of myself in my work, not just myself, but my people too. And I was also really interested in just our connections to them, the ideas of kinship that go beyond just humans, and our connection of kinship with animals, and especially the bison. They have taken care of us for so long, so now we get to return that back to them. And it just opened my eyes to what community means. And so overall, I found my voice through art, and art has always been in itself its own language that my brain could understand and comprehend. And as I'm working, I really found that I was finding more about myself, both internally and externally. And I might have never known myself as well as I do now without art. And and art has also given me the opportunity to kind of come to terms with these things about myself that I haven't yet resolved, like being an urban native and having that disconnect. It allowed me to return back to it. It allowed us a path, basically. So now, I found that I can really harness this duality, these conflicts into creative art. And that experience became an enriching of any expression that I give now. And, it was a bummer there for a while, but, it ultimately made me who I am today. And just going to art school led a path to find a community that where I feel like I really belong. Um, I feel like now I have my feet planted in both worlds, these both I'm in between cultures, but I have a foot in both. And my peers and my teachers now encourage me to lean into those differences and express them rather than suppress them. And I'm just internally grateful for that opportunity. Um, so this is just a sneak peek of what I've been working on currently. Um, and as a student, I'm constantly experimenting. And I find that with each piece, I'm getting closer to uncovering, because my identity is ever evolving, but I'm uncovering these things about myself, and I'm continuing to find my voice and expression, and just who I am as a person. And I find what I'm drawn to, why I'm drawn to it, and also just I get closer to what I want my art to speak about, which is kind of up in the air. But I'll get there one day. And yeah, I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Taya. We have one more presenter, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. And so our last student presenter is Damion Kingfisher. Damion is a Northern Cheyenne creator, a student of Chief Knife College, and a current member of her college's Student Senate as the freshman representative. Damion grew up and spent their whole life in Lame Deer, Montana, the home of the Northern Cheyenne tribe. Damion grew up in a family of artists, with their older brother being their main inspiration. Damion has been working on their art skills since junior high and had the honor of being able to create the art for their 2025 graduation program. Damion is currently working on several personal projects, with their main project being an animation for one of their favorite songs. Today, Damion will be sharing their animation with us, which focuses on the story of the Northern Cheyenne tribe in modern day.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to add this to the slide. I'm so sorry. Um, it's not letting me do something. Is it okay if I don't know how to do this. I am very sorry. I apologize heavily. I am extremely awkward.
That's okay, Damion.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm trying to
wonder.
figure out because I finished my art piece that I was trying to finish, but it won't let me send it to my Google Drive.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, give me a second. I think
Okay.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've been struggling with this for the past 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Um,
Well, meanwhile, I'll have the all of our attendees, if they have questions for our panelists, you can start putting them in the webinar chat, and that way, once
okay,
Damion is
wait, hold on.
finished.
It's okay. I finished it in time.
Okay,
I
perfect.
managed to finish it.
Perfect.
Give me one quick second. I gotta adjust the image. Okay, slideshow. And then I screen share, correct? Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
still very awkward. Uh, trying to remember how to screen share. I'm sorry.
Yeah, take a look at the bottom of the screen. There should be like a green box there that says share screen.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Share. Okay. Here it is. Oh wait, oh no, wait, hold on, excuse me, sorry about that. Um, this is my Centering Indigenous Knowledge presentation. Um, a bit about myself is I am Northern Cheyenne. I have autism, which has made a few things very hard over the years, especially when it comes to social cues. Um, but I'm getting around that. I am heavily inspired by family and friends, as you've heard. My brother and I are working on a comic together, and he's been one of my main supporters and one of my main, inspirations. I love his art. It has inspired me heavily, and I appreciate him. And then in the background is my late father. He passed away in 2020 on December 8th due to complications with COVID. And he is holding me. I am in his arms. And he used to say I was so small that he could hold me from right here would be my feet and my head would be in his palm. He could hold me with one hand. And he means a lot to me. He also inspired me a lot. He gave me many reasons to continue. I promised my dad that I would make it to college, that I would graduate high school, and I am here because of him. I've Another thing is I care heavily about my tribe and its future because a lot of the times during district meetings for my tribe, my parents would take me and I would do my best to pay attention and like, oh, oops, I didn't mean to. But I I love my tribe. I love the people here, and I notice a lot of things that have been going on, and I care heavily about its future, where it's headed, and uh, what was the other word? Where it's headed and what it turns out to be. And it's it means a lot to me because it's my family essentially. It's pretty much everyone here is my cousin. And I pay attention to all the problems I see and I want to find a way to fix it. And I'm thinking one way to fix it, or at least help it, is by bringing light to many things that are a problem in my tribe, like drugs and several things like that. And I also suffer from severe depression and anxiety. I'm currently on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. It helps enough. I'm actually incredibly terrified doing this webinar, and I'm heavily family oriented. I care about my family heavily, and my family means so much to me. I would do anything for my family, which is why I'm currently trying to do as much as I can to get money for my family. Um, oh, it doesn't show it. I was supposed to say art I have done in the past. This right here is it's titled "You Look Quite Divine Tonight," Here Among These Stars Tonight, which is based on a song by Miracle Musical, and it's a projection of how I felt at the time because of how many things were going on in the world. I wanted to see the beauty in the world. I wanted to see inspiration and colors and things I used to see as a child. And around the outline right here has words of doubt, and right here, which is like the reflection of this sort of, it's acceptance in these words. And right here is the art I've done for my graduation program. And right here, down here is a Northern Cheyenne teepee. And it's a morning star made out of graduation caps. Um, this is the animation I have been working on, which will most likely be done by, I don't know, about a year from now. So that right there is if I can go right here. Oh wait. Ah, kind of pause. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with this. So these are Northern Cheyenne teepees, and the part where it says nothing ever lasts forever, I am hoping to have it fade into a city where it goes from a popular or a populated tribe into just a normal urban city, which is essentially what happened. We moved from teepees to urban, urban livings. And that's, I'm trying my best to do as much as I can to finish this animation by next year, but it is going to be complicated as I am taking 7 classes and 18 credits worth this year. But that is my animation. It took quite a while just to get here. But I will play it one more time. That song is called Disease by Hollywood Undead. Um, the qualities, I'm not sure if the quality is that great, but yeah. And then this is the art piece I was working on, and I was hoping to finish beforehand, but wasn't able to. But it was supposed to be pre-Columbus to after Columbus, or not after Columbus, after Custer's battle. But I was not able to get all the details and finish what I wanted because it was supposed to go from pre-Columbus all the way through the timeline, essentially. And one thing about my tribe is that we were told that we had some of the whitest teepees pre-Columbus because we would tan the hide and do our best to keep it as white as we could. And a lot of our Cheyenne teepees didn't really have paintings on them. It's a little, boring, I know, but that's how my people were. And here is a Northern Cheyenne person who was crying because they're bound by the American flag. They're blinded by American society. And there are cigarettes around the neck because, when you smoke, it affects your neck. And tobacco used to be a very sacred thing to our people, but now it's just being smoked and, it's an addiction now. People have nicotine addictions and alcohol addictions, and this is supposed to be them essentially being bound by drugs and alcohol. And they're crying because it hurts them. And their hair is disheveled. You can tell right here that the tears have seeped through not the bandage, what is it called? The blindfold. And this one specifically hits very close to home because I've actually recently lost a family member who was very, very much influenced by drugs and alcohol and has brought much, much pain to my family because he has done things for drugs and has sold some of our things and has hurt my own family members and tried chasing us out of our own home just so they could sell drugs and turn that house into a meth house, which hurt my family a lot. But this is the end of the presentation. Thank you for watching, or I don't know how to end this.
Thank you, Damion. And so I hope our students get a chance to read the words in the chat box because you are getting so many accolades for your presentation and for sharing your art today. I know we're almost at the top of the hour, but we definitely are going to stick around for some questions. I know some folks may have to leave, but some may be able to stay on. And so if you have questions for any of our presenters, please put them in the chat box and we'll try to get through as many questions as possible.
Um, thank you guys. I was extremely nervous about today. Also, one thing I would like to share is I am also a two-spirit, which I forgot to put in my presentation. Um, and that has also been very complicated for my upbringing, but I got through it. I'm here today. I'm still standing strong, hopefully to help our people.
I wanted to ask if we did get one specific request about where folks might find Rachel's book. And I'm wondering if that is a TBD, you're working on it, or if that is currently available.
Okay, so I'm planning on it being an ebook first. I will most likely go through Barnes& and Noble Press, either that or Amazon. Kind of iffy, but yes, so it will be available on ebook first and then physical copies sometime in the future.
Great, thank you, Rachel. And we're happy if you want to let us know to kind of share that with our attendees, and just say the book's available and here's the link when it does happen.
Yes, and we have one question for Melisa. Could you talk more about the process of making your documentary?
Yeah, for sure. So initially I made the documentary for the AHEC convention, which is the American Indian it's
Higher
escaping me right now.
Education Consortium.
Higher Education Consortium. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Yeah, so I made it for that particular um opportunity. And like it was only going to be about the high tanning workshop because we had uh a lot of shots for it. Like I was a media intern last year and I'm gonna be signing up again. So I had a lot of uh I was able to get the cameras and use them all the time and stuff. So thinking about it, I was also in archery as well for the AHEC convention. And so I was like, well, let's go ahead and do that. And then Nez Felix, he was the archer coach, and I was like, well, he's also doing other stuff with the college and stuff, trying to become more like food sovereign, you know. And so I was like, well, that would be cool to add, you know. So I was very lucky. We have some amazing people at the Blackfeet Community College, uh, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm already forgetting her name. She was the main one speaking, and I've said her name 100 million times. And I
Trace?
think Trace, yes, okay, Trace Yalowell. She is an amazing teacher over at the Blackfeet Community College. I was in her class for Bacani Studies, history, and just learning about like what we went through and how like we survived and stuff was so touching. I was like, well, I've talked to her before, and she's like, "Well, I'd be down to do an interview with you." So I'm really grateful for her. She has all this amazing knowledge, and so I was like, it was really last minute to make it like bigger than just a high tanning workshop. And I was actually running really behind because we had like a week left before we had to like turn it in. And then we were also having technical issues at the college. Our internet went out. It was crazy. It was like a really crazy turn of events. And so I had to bring all the stuff home to work on it. Unfortunately, a lot of the footage is on a hard drive for iMac and I don't or a Mac computer and I don't have one of those, so I had to really cut it down shorter because I didn't have that footage. But it worked out really well. I was able to get it in just in the nick of time. And then I ended up getting People's Choice Award at the AHEC convention, which was surprising because I didn't think I was gonna, win anything. And then the TCJ Tribal College Journal uh, uh, awarded me with a student film award, which is amazing. I was like, I wasn't expecting that either. And so I get to go to Virginia in November for a film festival, which is amazing. So it was all like just really kind of feeling it out, like um it kind of went pretty organically. because I was able to just do some extra interviews, and we were gonna do archery shooting or like practice. So I was like, well, as long as they're okay, I'll get some footage of that, which was amazing. I mean, and all of the photos and the like time lapses I already took throughout the year. So I was very fortunate that that was like, just on my computer already. So I'm really grateful for that. So yeah, that's like the process. The editing was hard. Premiere Pro is a hard thing to work out, but YouTube is the best. Okay, hopefully that's answers the question.
Thank you, Melissa. We have one question for Damion, and then the next question can be open to any of our presenters. But the first question is, how are your peers doing with the issues you displayed so graphically? And that's for Damion. And then the next question is just about funding. How do you find support, financial support for your art? So we'll start with Damion and then we'll open it up.
So I have shown a lot of these art or these drawings I have made with a lot of my peers actually, and some of them do find it fairly graphic. And the point is not to be subtle or not to be, kind of subtle or, quiet with it. It needs to be loud, it needs to be heard, it needs to be seen. It is important, it is graphic, it is horrendous. That's what's happening to all of the Native American people. It is something that people need to see. They need to see this and realize that this thing that is happening to our people is not okay. It is not a right thing. And like a lot of them do find it scary, but that is our reality. Our reality is incredibly terrifying. We're in one of the hardest times I've ever known, and I'm honestly very scared for my people because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if my college will even stay open past a year. I don't know if I'll be able to graduate from Chief Knife College, which scares me because I would love to graduate from the same college my mom did. My mom graduated from this college, and she was one of my main inspirations to come to this college because it's also near home, and I can take care of my mom because she is also she's on dialysis. And my brother, he's staying home currently with my mom, but I like to stay home and keep an eye on things. But it's a tough subject. I agree, but it does need to be said. It does need to be shown. So that is my part on the peer question.
Thank you, Damion. And then this question, if anyone, this is open to all of our presenters, is just how do you find the financial support to support your artwork?
For me, I I would say post a lot of your art online. Try to get as much like audience attention as you can with your art, and try and post it. Try and get it seen. Maybe you can get commissions from that and post it. Make sure you look for opportunities like this where you can get your art to be spread and seen. And that way I've seen a lot of people through that way gain a lot of not a lot of money, but enough money. But yeah, that is my input on that.
Personally, I like to do a lot of the art markets. And I was actually working with this company down in Billings. I actually met Taya Falcon from there. Tria, they were really helpful. They helped like boost a lot of Indigenous artists and kind of teach them how to market themselves, which was really amazing. And they hooked us up with a lot of art markets throughout Montana. Like they'd be like, "Oh, this is happening here and this is happening there," and sometimes we'd get the booth fee waves, so it was really amazing. That was really cool. And I always try to keep my ear to the ground on different art markets. I know there's an Indigenous made art market in Missoula that's really amazing. There's a lot of foot traffic, so I try to do that. And then I also was fortunate enough to be invited to the Made in Montana trade show, and through them, I was able to wholesale a couple of pieces that I made into postcards and stickers. So yeah, so I got some good networking done over there. So I would recommend some networking as well. Like always just be talking and, be nice, and yeah, usually it works out really well.
Yeah, I also um so for in my case, I work at currently I'm working at the studio on campus, and just trying to, I was able to do like a work study thing, but it really helped, me just have unlimited access to the studio so I can go in and continuously work. And so, as far as financially, it's helpful because I have access to the kilns and I have access to the clay, and that's all. Once I actually graduate and have to transition into my own studio, those are going to be expenses that I'll have to go buy all that stuff, and I won't be able to have the access to all those resources. It'll all have to come from myself. And so that's really helped me is just being in that position and giving back to the studio too is really nice. Being able to like I care a lot for that studio, so it's not just like a financial reward. It's also just it's a personal reward that just feels so good to be in that space. And um yeah, that's what I do. My tuition pays for a lot of that, which is, I just that they're just trying to find that balance. But in the long run, I think just being in school and utilizing the things that you're paying for with art school is really one of the best ways that I've helped myself financially.
I have one more thing is there's the First Peoples Fund, and they have grants for Indigenous artists. I went to a workshop of theirs a couple weeks ago, and if you go to their website, they do have like emergency like grants and stuff that they award each month, as far as I know. But they also have different grants and stuff for different types of artists. So I definitely recommend checking them out. Because they seem very like, native forward for sure. And also that they want to help you either get more art supplies, stuff that you need. So I recommend that as well.
Yeah, grants are great. And that's something definitely to look into as an artist who's trying to, as a professional, is getting that funding through grants and also just building the kind of like what you were saying, Melissa, building that community, talking to people, making those connections, because even if they're not, supporting you financially necessarily, eventually, it's gonna help you, kind of be grounded and, branch out and people will hear your name and be like, oh yeah, I saw so and so at this place. And so those connections are really important, especially like those artist community connections are really important.
We got a
Well, thank you
question.
so much. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, thank you. Leslie Green asked in the Q&A area if she says, can someone type information into the chat on resources for Native artists to network or collaborate with? So I did want to just open that up and crowdsource if you all had particular organizations or resources, websites, etc., that do that support collaboration for Native artists or other resources. Please share.
Yes, so thank you so much to all of our presenters and all of our attendees. Um, our presenters were just so amazing. So we appreciate what you've shared with us today. And also, this entire webinar series is in recognition of Native American Heritage Month. And so we kicked it off early, but the next sessions will be every Thursday at noon. And so next session will be next Thursday at noon, and we'll actually have artist Taryn Laskin. So take a look at some of his work. He's been kind of one of our premier artists in the sense that we've been able to work with him to use the imagery that has kind of been part of the Centering Indigenous Knowledge webinar series. And we certainly wanted to ensure he had a platform to talk about his art. So thank you so much for tuning in, and join us next Thursday. Josh, do you have any last minute?
You covered it.
Okay.
I'll echo your appreciation for our students and student artists. You all really inspire me. Thank you for giving us some time today.